Mulder and Scully visit a zoo after an invisible elephant escapes and causes serious damage and death. What they uncover is nothing short of baffling and unbelievable.
Complete with vanishing animals, aliens, and sign language, the episode is chock full of what?
This is not happening.
The WAO believes only tragedy results from keeping animals in captivity. In the wild, an elephant like that would roam an area of 20 square miles minimum. Ganesha weighed in excess of 5,000 pounds, and she was being held in a 50 by 50 foot cage.
And you consider that inhumane treatment?
It's like you or I living in a pickle barrel.
According to FBI files, you've been arrested over a dozen times for activities involving the kidnapping of circus and zoo animals.
The WAO sees it as liberation.
Were you involved in the liberation of Ganesha?
That would make me an accessory to murder, wouldn't it? Endangering these animals is against everything we believe. These are incredibly spiritual creatures. Their rituals and behavior are linked to a past no man ever witnessed. Did you know they actually bury their dead? They can visit an elephant graveyard centuries old and know instinctively where the bones of their ancient ancestors lie.
What do you think Ganesha was running from?
You want to see what she was running from? I'll show you.
And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mike, and with me, as always, my good friend, Andrew. How are you, Andrew?
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, I'm a bit fearful. And
really?
I'm unsymmetrical.
You are unsymmetrical.
Yeah. I don't know quite how, but I just feel it. And I'm fearful for it.
You feel off.
Yeah. Feel unbalanced somehow.
Fearful of your offness.
And I'm invisible, which is also strange.
I was going to ask, are you shooting off camera today? Or
I'm right here. Why can't you see me?
I don't know. You haven't been abducted yet, so once you come back, then I'll be able to see you.
That's right, but I'll be 2 miles to the west-southwest, and it'll be very strange.
Yeah.
You're
going to need a Bluetooth mic.
I've got a really long cord.
Ugh. Oh, boy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are here to hear about Fearful Symmetry.
Episode 18 of Season 2. We're going to stumble through this one, aren't we?
Number one. We are doing this out of order. You will see this drop with fresh bones. And the only reason for that is because Andrew and I wanted to record Colony and Endgame at the same time. Yeah. And doing it the normal way would have prevented that. So you're going to get this first, and then the next release you will get both Colony and Endgame. And they will eventually drop into numeric order in your feeds. So don't worry about that.
Just relax. It'll all work out in the end.
Just relax. Don't look at the feeds and get concerned. You're not missing anything.
No one ever relaxed after somebody said, just relax to them.
Just relax.
I mean, number one way to inspire an argument with your spouse is to start it off by saying, you know what? Just relax.
Just relax.
Just relax.
No, yeah, pulses definitely they increase when that happens.
Yeah.
Whether good or bad.
Exactly.
So, okay, we are here to discuss Fearful Symmetry. And it's no beating around the bush. It's one of the most panned episodes of the show.
Now, is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that it's written by and directed by two people who have never worked on the show before?
I think it's a coincidence. I don't think necessarily that the episode says whoever shot this and directed it doesn't know what they're doing.
It's capably well done. I mean, there's nothing wrong with what I see, but the script is a train wreck.
It's wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude who wrote it.
Steve DeJarnett. Yeah. It doesn't really fit.
We'll get into it, but it is
certainly will get into it. But
I will say extremely
off. The thumbnail sketch of this is that it does not really fit in terms of how an episode's constructed and even how Mulder and Scully kind of address a problem. It doesn't really fit the same way other episodes do one-shots, the Monsters of the Week. It is very much an issue show. This is the animal rights episode of The X-Files.
Right. And while that is in my final thoughts, we all know the social issue shows don't really land.
Yes. There are.
And I'll get into that. And I think I'm sure you will as well. But one other issue I would preface this whole thing is, for me, it falls on the lines of gender bender and space, where it introduces aliens that their motives are obscure and it doesn't fit with the mythology.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Isn't it funny? I didn't even consider that because everything else is so bad. Like, and that would be normally where I would go is a plot inconsistency. I would sit there and look at it and go, well, what aliens are these? Are these the black oil aliens? Are these the bounty hunters? Are these... Yeah, you're absolutely right. Is this aliens number 7 that are...
We're up there.
Earth is a hot topic for aliens.
Yeah. Because if it's... That's what we have to grapple with as fans of the show is if it's not the aliens who are conspiring with the leaders of the world or the rebels, who the fuck else is it? And how many species are there? And how many times are they going to visit Earth? That whole thing. And why is Earth so popular?
You know what you do? You drop the lone gunman into Fresh Bones and you drop X into Fearful Symmetry. Because then you could have a bit more mythology tie-in. And
you could.
Not that I regret X's position with, but I think that there could have been, that's how the details for Fresh Bones get sort of chimed into Mulder. It's a
little bit more believable.
Absolutely.
Because they're definitely into the occult and learning about things, as we'll find out in future seasons, future episodes. Yeah. They have their fingers in all sorts of different stuff.
This could have been a bit more of a mythology tie-in, even just a little bit, but as it is.
They could have tried harder, for sure.
They could have tried harder. Although, when you think of who the writers are, they're not qualified. So unfortunately, Steve DeJarnett does not have security clearance to write mythology episodes.
And that's probably his downfall. He was not given enough guidance, or they just didn't pay attention to his script and be like, well, you can't talk about aliens.
Yeah.
Even though you want to, and you think that's what the X-Files is solely about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just let it slip through the cracks. I don't know. But
you can very safely skip this episode and
you're not
miss anything.
Yeah.
I looked and I couldn't find anything about how DeJarnett and Whitmore Jr. got involved. You know, there's no easily accessible discussion point anywhere. Like, there are some directors who the background notes for, listed somewhere will say they're fans of the show. They reached out. They said, could I, possibly do one? And Chris Carter's like, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you. In this case, it's like this episode appears out of nowhere. And I suspect it's like they got a hole in the schedule. Something fell apart. They're like, all right, we'll take this spec script that's been submitted by Steve DeJarnett. We'll hand it to some other guy because we're busy getting ready to do our, .com or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But in this case, it just appears out of nowhere and it disappears just as fast.
So why don't you say, or what do you say we dive in? We've already braced our fans for what they're about to experience as if they didn't know themselves. So
you know what? It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
It's going to be more enjoyable than the episode. I hope that for you listeners. I have prepared special notes.
Oh, do we have a game? Do we play a game?
No. We have no games per se, but I draw some conclusions and I make some notes of some actors. So.
Oh, very good. All right. Well, I'm ready.
All right. Well, we open on the streets outside the Idaho Mutual Insurance Trust. The camera closes in on 2 janitors working late at night. One of them having a little too much fun while he's dancing to his music. He gets scolded by his partner to be more professional for the cameras. Suddenly, the earth begins to shake violently beneath them. They take a moment to listen. The large window out front of the store shatters violently. There's a bellow from an unseen beast as it goes. The men look out of the newly destroyed window to see things being systematically crushed down their side of the street, a car flattened, signs bent over, newsstand destroyed. They can't believe what they're seeing. Somewhere else in town, some construction workers on the road notice their yellow lights being knocked asunder. They all scatter, save for one who doesn't react in time, and he gets thrown violently backwards. An elephant trumpet sounds. In the morning, a semi-truck driver is driving down a local road. It's a foggy morning. Suddenly, out of the fog, a massive elephant appears in front of him, and he slams on his brakes, coming mere inches from hitting the animal. It slowly walks around the driver's side and peers in with its inquisitive yellow eye and continues on. Further down the road, some time has passed. Police are arriving on a scene to a crowd that is gathered around the large animal as it lays dying on the street. A young girl kneels next to it and stares at it. The camera pulls back. Credits. Andrew, what's going on?
It's going to be a great episode.
It's going to be a great episode.
What an opener.
I just want to say this right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen. I hate this opening. Before I get into it, and
tear it apart, man. Listen, this is your Ghost in the Machine moment. Because when we had that opening, I had 4 pages of notes about how terrible that opening was. You and Carrie had to sit through.
I'm just going to say this
dissection
here
of the bad opening.
I'll say it here, and then I'll save the rest for my final thoughts.
All right.
I can't stand suffering animals, and I know this elephant is acting, but I hate it. I hate it. Combine the visuals with the sounds they use, and does not sit well with me. So it's hard to watch for me on that. You know, I'm not what you would call a tree hugger per se, but I do care about the world around us. And I can't stand suffering animals, so that bothers me.
So that's a you problem, though.
That's a me problem, for sure.
If you took that out of the equation, it could still be an amazing opener.
It could. Before I let you launch into your 4 pages.
I don't have. I have like 1 note here, and it's actually good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I was waiting for you to tear it apart.
Okay. Well, the last thing I'll mention, I'm not going to tear it apart.
Okay.
I wanted to say the more professional of the Hispanic janitors is Leno Britos.
Oh yeah,
who
he's
also plays.
Yeah,
he plays a key figure in season 3 as Luis Cardinal in several episodes, and is arrested for the shooting death of Scully's sister.
Mm-hmm.
So
see him again.
Yeah, we will see him again. So go ahead.
Well, the only note I wanted to make was apparently the elephant. They had some concerns about it being able to perform the stunt of it running up to the truck.
It's not fake.
It's not fake. And apparently it loved it. It would do it just, they had to stop it from like trying to get up there and smack it. So it was quite the thing. Oh, and they shot it in South Surrey because mainland BC or somewhere where they were going to shoot it has a bylaw against animal performers. So
interesting.
They had to shoot it in a different country road. I don't know what they had in mind originally, but I don't know. I think the scene works. The
scene works there. And the only thing that made me question anything was, why is that semi on a normal road? Like you don't see that every day, but it doesn't really matter.
Semis can go on normal roads.
They can. It's just unusual.
Well, and he's on his way. If you listen to the dialogue, he's on his way to pick up a trailer.
I know.
It's like you don't even care. The one note I would say about this scene was when Luis Cardinal is scrubbing at the floor and he puts his cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
Like, first of all,
dances across
smoking
the floor.
and cleaning, like this seems to be a bit of
counterproductive.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess, has Jurassic Park already come out at this point?
Oh, yeah, 93.
It came out in 93. So is this a little hearkening back to the water jiggling scene?
It could be.
The cigarette falling over?
Could be.
It's a different spin on it, to be
different
sure.
Different spin.
Yeah.
If it was water, then yes. It would have been like, all right, guys, all right.
So that said, is this Luis Cardinal? Is this him before he picks up a hitman job? I like to think it is.
Following our trend of people who guest star before they have semi-major roles in the show. Yes, that's right. This is what's his name? What's his name here?
Yeah.
Before he changes it to Luis Cardinal.
It is Esteban.
Okay. Yeah. So Esteban, he's making it as a janitor, but he can't get paired up with anyone who takes it as serious as him. So he's looking for other options.
Well, I think he was blamed for the destruction of that window. Like, clearly, it must have been them because...
Yeah, he doesn't need this. He doesn't need this. So he, before he gets fired, he quits this job. And he notices an ad in the paper for Hitman.
No, cleaner.
Oh, clean. You're right.
And
Wet
he's
works.
thinking, I'm already qualified.
Wet
You
works.
know, I can just transition my skills into this.
I can
job.
clean anything,
That's right.
and it pays a lot of money.
Is it crazy? The salary and benefits? Not so.
I could get health insurance for a cleaner job. What?
You guys have a great plan.
Sign me up.
Do you do matching benefits? It's awesome. All right, so I'm good. Let's move on because this is going to be a 4-hour episode at the rate we're going.
No. Outside, the agents arrive on scene at the insurance agency. No one saw anything, not even the cameras inside the insurance agency, just shattering glass. The construction worker who was killed had his spine crushed with the faint outline of an elephant foot. The best Mulder can come up with is an invisible elephant, to Scully's dismay. A member from the local zoo, Ed Meacham, arrives to greet the agents. Ganesha, the elephant, apparently ran herself into exhaustion and died as best he can figure. They don't know how she escaped, the cage was locked, and there were no signs of tampering. Ed directs the agents to Willa Ambrose. She was hired by the Board of Supervisors to oversee the operations at the zoo. We go now to the Fairfield Zoo. The agents arrive to meet Willa. Ambrose is standoffish at first, but after Mulder explains no one is trying to blame them, the fact remains an elephant from her zoo was found 43 miles away and a man was killed as the result. She brings them to her pen. A concrete room barely large enough for her to squeeze in, steel bars guarding the entrance wrapped with a chain and a padlock. Scully, my girl, asks the question, why such a small pen for such a large animal? Thank you, Scully.
Why do you hate animals, Willa?
What is going on in this place?
Why do you hate them so much to put this elephant, this majestic creature here?
She states that because it was built in the 40s, all the pens are way too small and she was brought on to expand and make the zoo more humane, but it does take time. Mulder notes the tie-down anchor at the base of the pen, and Willa states it was Meacham's practice to tie the animals down, something she immediately put a stop to when she arrived. Sensing the tension, he asks about her relationship with Meacham, and she says plainly, I'm his boss, and I'm a woman, and Ed doesn't like that much. So we've got a suspect of who could have released this elephant upon the public, sir.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What are the agents doing here?
Well, best I can figure, there have been reports of this trampling and the fact that every witness says nothing was there. That's about all I got.
Well, there is a piece of dialogue.
You know what we're going to have to do? I'm going to have to go through every single one of these episodes with you. We're going to sit down and I'm not paying you.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm not paying me for this either.
Nobody's getting paid here. Yeah.
So we're gonna draw the episode title, or we're gonna write the episode title at the top of the page, and we're gonna do like a tree diagram. What leads the agents or the story to the agents at any given point?
Right.
And this one falls under invisible something, so that falls under Ghost, which means it goes to the X-Files at the FBI.
Right. Except I do actually have an answer, and that is there is a line later on that says, it's when we first meet Willa. Scully says a federal employee was fatally injured last night, and I assume that the dropping of the word federal implied, well, then that's got to be investigated by the FBI. But the federal employee who was fatally injured was a road worker.
Still counts.
It's
like if Bob, the mail delivery guy, got killed.
Yeah, fair.
He's a government worker.
All I wanted to note at that point was there's a very tenuous little, the agents happen to be here. What we're missing is the scene where they're at the water cooler with Scully walking up to say, hey, did you see this this flash item that just came in? Crazy story, huh? And then Mulder says, I got 4 X-Files of it.
Yeah, another one?
Yeah.
I've got invisible tramplings.
They've
got their own folder.
Your bags together, Scully. We're going to the zoo. And then off they go.
Man. So despite her distaste for Meacham, Willa says it would be dumb of him to sabotage because the zoo is out of money as it is. Right now, he's dealing with the WAO as well, the Wild Again organization, radicals who believe every captive animal should be set free.
Should be noted that Mulder deploys his encyclopedic brain to know everything about the WAO.
He knows the WAO.
Yep, he's got a list of all the acronym organizations.
Yep. So we go from here to a construction site. The agents meet with comedian Stephen Wright. I mean, Kyle Lang.
That is not Stephen Wright. He doesn't look anything like Stephen Wright. What are you talking
Bullshit, it doesn't.
about? All
Come
right.
on.
Okay, Stephen Wright with a goatee. Sure, all right.
No, Stephen Wright with a beard.
Handsome
Normal
Stephen
Stephen Wright. The only thing he's missing is like a beret or at least a ball cap. Anyway, maybe a slightly more receding hairline, but other than that,
that is a swarthy, sexy Stephen Wright, if anything.
Are you saying Stephen Wright is ugly, sir?
I am saying he is average looking.
He is average. But anyway.
It's funny.
It just struck me as Stephen Wright, and I enjoy him too. But
all right, I'll give it to you.
He's going over the awful conditions Ganesha lived in and what the WAO believes in. It would be against everything he believed in to bring her to harm. So Mulder asks what she was running from, and Stephen Wright is happy to oblige. The episode cuts to credits. Thank you for listening, everybody. This episode has been brought to you by
PETA.
No, unfortunately, the episode goes on to cut some
yet.
Disturbing footage of an elephant.
Oh, this must have hurt pretty hard for you.
It sucked, man.
Yeah.
Behind a cage being tortured by Meacham. They assume that he is still at it, and they're going to put pressure on the zoo. No matter how good Willa's intentions, she's too preoccupied with a lawsuit with the Malawi government over a gorilla named Sophie. Willa rescued her 10 years ago and raised her like a child, but the Malawi government now wants her back. And even using the word rescues, Kyle is not happy with Willa. Her obligation should have been to return Sophie to the wild and not keep her behind bars. So,
yeah, but she got attached. She taught her sign language. It's all very emotional.
It is very emotional.
Now, to the episode's credit, usually these kind of episodes fail badly when they integrate multiple different plot threads that are tenuously related. And the introduction of Sophie the gorilla to an invisible elephant story could be not great, except that they are both linked by the presence at the zoo. So, so far, it's still on board.
It's going all right.
It's going all right.
I will give you that.
Yeah.
Mulder and Scully leave him so he can get back to writing his monotone comedy routine. As they leave, they are stared down by another man, a blonde man. One might say a poor man's Daniel Craig.
Ooh,
this is actually
Garvin. Eminem.
This is actually Garvin Cross, who is actually a well-known stunt actor, and he has a storied career.
Ooh, really?
Ironically, though, despite his appearance, he has never doubled for Daniel Craig in the Bond films. I looked.
Has he ever doubled for Eminem?
I don't believe so, but
listen,
I'm mentioning him not only because he has a somewhat of a role in this episode. He actually comes back in another episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I figured he would.
Heron Volk, season opener to season 4. He is the electrician who dies in the pre-credit scene.
Oh,
after he is stung by the bee.
You know, he also kind of looks like the guy in season 5, the beginning. He's the alien, not the kid who they pour the black oil into his eyes.
Oh, a little bit. A little taller, a little more adult.
Lanky.
But yeah. Mueller and Scully discuss the case so far. Scully is convinced it's the WAO, but Mueller is not because nothing was caught on camera. So basically, Andrew, it is his version of pictures or it didn't happen. He's a little ahead of his time.
Scully's logical answers about why the elephant was invisible, the elephant's gray, the camera's not so great, maybe it just didn't resolve it.
Yeah.
It was dark, road workers were drunk,
Road workers were drunk, as they are.
As they are. as federal employees, they're
As
allowed
federal
to really,
employees,
they're
I mean,
allowed
come
to
on.
slack off. I'm on Mulder's side at this point. It's like,
Yeah.
there's more to it.
Yeah. Okay, so Scully hints that there is good possibility that the WAO will try to liberate another animal because by doing so, the zoo would lose yet another animal, another attraction, lose even more money, and shut down, which is exactly what they would want.
Yep.
Mulder leaves her to watch them while he goes on to have a chat with the lone gunman.
Well, almost all the
Almost.
gunmen. Yep.
Over at JoJo's copy, on a large projector, is Frohicke's beautiful face along with Byers. No Langley this week. This is the greatest explanation. He has a philosophical issue with his image being bounced off a satellite. Perfect.
Yeah,
I
and
love
he's doing another show right now, so we don't have access to him.
Don't have access. After some episode improving moments, we get down to business. Mulder asks them to tell him about Fairfield, and it's almost as if they've been read in on the script. They hit the nail on the head as soon as they open their mouths. They're talking about the zoo.
What are you doing in Idaho? I'm in the town of Fairfield. What do you know about it?
They got a little zoo there. Lots of strange lore. Animals escaping, disappearing without a trace.
Any idea why?
You're not far from the Mountain Home Air Base. Major UFO hotspot.
Weird fact, Mulder. No animal at Fairfield Zoo has ever brought a pregnancy to term.
Not a cub or a chick.
The woman who runs the zoo has a gorilla that knows sign language, supposedly with a vocabulary of 1,000 words.
If that's the lovely agent Scully, let her know I've been working out. I'm buff.
Yeah, I'm amazed. Okay, I could believe that they are just so up on their conspiracy theories that they could be like, no, Fairfield. Yeah.
Fairfield. Yeah. Yeah. The zoo. Crazy shit that happens there all the time.
Could have had a moment where Byers walks off and comes back with a folder, you know?
Yeah, something.
And then-
So it's not like at the
Yeah.
top of their head when they didn't even know what the satellite call was about.
Yeah. I'm willing to throw it the benefit of the doubt
Whatever.
because I do like them. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Episode needs to trot along because it's only got 42 minutes.
Mulder gets a call and Frohicke springs into action. He wants a date with Scully still. So
Well, he says, if that's the lovely agent Scully, tell her I'm working out. I'm buff.
I'm buff.
So good.
So Scully's followed the WAO to the zoo and they are actually about to hop the fence. She heads off in pursuit. Daniel Craig's stuntman walks fast.
I just want to point out the good things about this episode because I guess I'm just a contrarian. But in this case, is it not refreshing that Scully is being the action hero?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because usually it's Mulder who goes off and leaves her alone and goes off and does something
More interesting.
yeah, action oriented. But in this case, it's her. But, she won't be alone for long. But
It's one of the positive things about this episode.
one of them.
Yeah. One of the one.
One of the
But-
one.
I take that back. The lone gunmen make it too. So,
So one of the two good things so far. Maybe there will be a third.
right.
No, there is a third. It's going to come up. You're going to love it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The poor man's Daniel Craig walks fast, checking his surroundings often, but manages to miss the hot redhead following him in heels. In the next few scenes, we get some stuff happening, Andrew. Scully's frightened by Ed Meacham. Daniel Craig makes his way inside a large series of cages, and Mulder arrives. So I'm just going to get that out of the way.
Wait a second. How did Scully get inside the compound?
She jumped the fence,
Did we have that scene?
I believe.
I don't
I can
think
just
so.
imagine.
I think
Well,
it's
she doesn't have a
in
key, so
there. Well, they totally sidestep. Well, no, actually, Mulder does break in later, but
Mulder breaks it, yeah.
I don't think we see 5-foot tall Scully hopping the fence.
Well, tell you what, if poor Daniel Craig can do it, she can do it.
Would it be a better episode if she saw the fence and pulled out a grappling hook? I think that'd be awesome, actually.
Schlink!
We'd all be like, whoa, yeah, this episode just got great.
My pants just got tight. So, okay, so the animals around the intruder begin to scream and shriek in discomfort and fear. The limited staff on site, including Willa, are all alerted. She's trying to calm Sophie with sign language. The man begins filming the tiger in the area when suddenly a brilliant white light shines from behind it. With a brief intensity and sounds of electric discharge, it is the sound of warping in some Protoss structures in StarCraft, if you've ever played it.
Right. Yeah, it totally is.
I can't help it.
That sound effect's been used in a lot of different
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The light disappears fairly quickly. The tiger is gone from the cage, but the man still hears it, can't see it. Suddenly, he's knocked down by an unseen force. He drops his camera and begins getting mauled, but we can't really see anything. The lens is facing him as he gets thrashed around, and I have to wonder if they used some wires here, because he does a pretty damn good job, but because he is a stuntman, I'm willing to believe this is all him, by himself, doing this struggle. It really does look like he could be doing it himself, and he's doing a pretty good job.
It's a pretty scary looking scene.
Yeah.
And I will say I did review the footage, and I apologize to Gillian Anderson, who does look like she climbs over the fence.
See, I knew it.
Very buff. What have we learned about what the aliens can do?
They can abduct and shine lights where they need to.
Yeah.
And make animals invisible?
Well, there's a big deal about the animals being released from their cages. They're being taken out of their cages.
Mm-hmm.
The cages are not opened. They are not unlocked. The animals are just outside of the cage. And the logic of the episode actually works with the Ganesha, the elephant, being set free and run amok. And the tiger is set free and run amok.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't make sense. Like, we're suggesting that this is the aliens coming down and using their ability to withdraw the embryo that's been implanted into or it's developing inside the animal.
Mm-hmm.
And the side effect is the animal is turned invisible, perhaps insubstantial. It's able to walk out of its cage. But if it can walk through its cage and is unsubstantial, then how can it maul this guy to death? Or, the elephant can run through traffic. Like, is it briefly insubstantial, just long enough to get through the cage? It's all pretty strange.
Who knows, Andrew? That's what we're supposed to take about.
These aliens are dicks, is what it
Who
is.
Who knows?
Yeah. Aliens did not cooperate with the writer in the creation of this episode.
The writers didn't cooperate with logic.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yes.
So, back at the WAO office, Scully speaks again with Kyle. He's claiming ignorance on the man's intentions to go to the zoo. Scully's angry and presses him. The tiger is missing, and his friend is dead, and yet he's showing an amazing lack of emotion.
Oh, he's cold.
Mulder comes in after she threatens him with prison time if she finds out that the man was there on his orders. Mulder tells her he looked at the tape and the man was killed by nothing. A phantom.
Yep. He died from epilepsy.
That is some violent.
That's a violent grand mal seizure right there.
Yep. Back at the zoo the next night, they meet Willa. Why it takes a whole day, I don't know.
They had a lot of reports to file.
Yeah. Whatever. Sophie's ill. She brings them in. The gorilla looks amazingly like a man in a suit. Sophie curls into a ball and shivers in the corner. All she says is light, afraid, according to Willa. Willa is obviously scared for her. Mulder wants to speak to Sophie, doesn't he? And as the women discuss her vocabulary and the Malawi lawsuit, Mulder takes a moment to inspect the gorilla's coloring skills mounted on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Willa says Sophie wanted a baby until recently, and the brown cluster in some of the drawings indicates that. Mulder then asks if there is a vet facility here, and he has a strange request. We cut to a large concrete room. The agents stand on scaffolding above Ganesha's body. As Willa is deep inside of it, a hole has been cut in her side. They're performing an autopsy, Andrew.
I told you there'd be a third thing you liked in this episode.
I got to give it credit for being unique.
You don't see this every day.
You don't see this every day.
As you climb down the ladder to get into the elephant's innards.
I have to ask you.
Yeah.
What is the likelihood that Mulder talked Willa into destroying the corpse of a beloved elephant without telling her exactly what he's looking for.
It's one of those things in an episode that you have to just assume happened, that it was a more interesting scene than we're going to see.
Right.
I could see him convincing Scully that
For sure.
she could convince Willa to do it, because I don't think Mulder is the he hasn't got the human touch.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But he does lead the scene with I have a strange request to Willa. So
yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's a little preposterous.
Well, though, Willa's not an elephant person. She's a gorilla person. Maybe she's like, oh, you want to chop open?
You want to defile this elephant's body? Sure. Sign me up.
Yeah. But yes, the reveal later of the pregnancy is strange. Then why Mulder wouldn't give that as a perfectly reasonable explanation as to investigate this.
Yeah. So Scully gets in. She does her little investigation, and they pull up the uterus. With a quick cut under the microscope, Scully confirms Mulder's suspicions. The animal was indeed pregnant at one time. Willa's beside herself. She can't believe it, as she just finished telling them they never mated her, and it's way too difficult to do in captivity.
Yeah.
This can't be possible. But Mulder rightly says neither is an invisible elephant. So
this particular detail is suspiciously absent for the rest of the episode. Like, even Willa says that's impossible. This can't be.
Right.
And yet the science of it is right there. The proof is right there. So, doesn't that ask more questions than it answers? I mean, I guess maybe there's a potential that Ed Meacham is doing some illicit artificial insemination, perfectly logical explanation, but a lot of
we're going to find out who's inseminating these things, aren't we?
We are.
At another construction site in the city, a large office structure is being built, and some men are working at night. They hear a roar close by. Cut to a van pulling up. Meacham gets out with a long rifle. The agents arrive with Willa. Willa orders Ed to stand down, and she chases the cat inside the building with a tranquilizer gun. One of the workers from earlier is hiding as the tiger prowls the area. They've all split up. Mulder and Scully, Ed, and Willa are now all separated. As Willa searches, she's attacked by the tiger from behind. We hear a gunshot. It's Meacham. He killed it before it could get to her. The next morning, a sign is on the zoo gates. Closed until further notice. Willa and the board are, in what appears to be a Bond villain's scheme room, concluding a meeting. They're withdrawing all funding, and Willa is now out of a job.
They've cut off all funding. The animals are being shipped out to other zoos starting Monday.
I'm sorry.
It could not have happened at a worse time.
You mean for Sophie?
What I had going for me was my position here, having a place for her. Have the results come in on the tiger?
Agent Scully just finished the test. The tiger had been pregnant, too.
It's impossible. There's no chance those animals could get pregnant. No way.
What if they've been artificially inseminated?
That's an extremely fine and complex process. I would have known.
Unless it was done somewhere else.
Where?
What do you know about alien abduction?
You're kidding me. You think that these animals were taken aboard some spaceship?
I don't know where they're being taken, but there's obviously some problem getting them back. Due to what is probably an astrological variation, a trouble with the time-space continuum. These animals that are being taken from locked cages are being returned roughly 2 miles west-southwest of the zoo.
Aliens impregnating zoo animals.
Yes, and harvesting the embryos.
Why?
Maybe their own Noah's Ark? To preserve the DNA of these animals that we're depleting to extinction? Whatever it is, that's probably the reason why you've never had a successful birth at this facility.
I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I understand that you might think it was ridiculous, and maybe you should ask Sophie.
You think this is what she's so afraid of?
I believe she's pregnant.
Can I pop back to the tiger killing scene?
Yes, sir.
Why are Mulder and Scully in that room?
Yeah,
What do they offer in this scenario?
Well, Mulder's got a gun.
But Willa doesn't want anybody to use the gun.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But, they're good investigators, so they can at least find the tiger.
Well, and Scully can declare it dead just by looking at it.
Yeah, just by looking at it. And as we learn in season 5, which we don't know yet, but Mulder is a great hunter. He can track.
Yes.
And,
Eagle Scout, even.
Eagle Scout.
Yeah, I know why they're there because it's their show, goddammit. But I just think they don't need to be there. They're just tiger bait. Is what they are.
It's not the Willa files.
It's not the Ed Meacham files,
right?
But then we got the old trope of the protagonist being saved at the last minute by somebody else firing just as the monster's sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's where he drops the bomb to Willa. What do you know about alien abductions?
Well, we have had a couple of episodes where that hasn't come up, so it's time. We're due.
And this is how you get people to listen to you. So,
yes.
We know your animals have been taken away from you. Your job is gone. How do you feel about alien abductions? Let's get on to that.
Yeah, it's possible this is a thing.
You're in a really receptive mood right now, so let me throw this theory at you. His big theory.
Yeah. Just take this for a second.
But Mulder says he thinks Sophie is pregnant and she's afraid they're coming for her baby. So we're going to put this disgust on hold for a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going to cut to Sophie. Willa begins talking with sign language. Man, woman, hurt. Sophie is afraid of Mulder and Scully.
Rightfully so.
So after Willa calms her a little bit, she asks about a baby. And Mulder asks if she wants to leave. Sophie says, light, afraid. When they ask what she's afraid of, Sophie gives Mulder the shitty Peter look from Congo. Baby go flying light. Oh boy. God. This is painful, Andrew. This is...
Just get through
get through it. Scully comes in. The sheriff's deputy is here to serve Willa papers about Sophie.
Okay, hold on. I got to jump in at this point.
All right.
We have had episodes where there are painful redirects from the questions asked. And I'm thinking of In Excelsis Day as a good example when they're questioning Gung about
every scenario where they're about to get an answer.
Yeah, he's like, what does the drug do? You people, how you treat your elders. It's disgusting. Right. So what does the drug do? Well, back in my country, we respect our elders. I'm like, fuck, man. When are you going to actually answer the question? In this case, I mean, the writer's having a field day with Sophie just like answering everything but the question.
Laying out the answers. Sophie's very talkative.
Sophie's talkative, but just not going to supply anything useful.
She's got loose hands. So,
yeah.
Back at the WAO offices, Kyle is typing away at a typewriter. Willa comes in asking for help. She wants his help getting Sophie back. They argue about letting her go. Willa sees her destined to be killed by poachers. And in a Gollum-esque fit of rage, she yells that Sophie is hers.
Mm-hmm.
She then tells him Sophie's pregnant. With a defiant no, Kyle tells her he will not help her. Now, if you'll kindly leave, I need to finish writing my act.
That's right.
Okay, in the zoo warehouse, they're watching Sophie get loaded into a cage, and Willa's rightfully upset. The stunt actor fits the gorilla's mask out a small opening for a smooch. Surprisingly...
Wait, that's not a real gorilla?
No, sir.
No, it is definitely not.
Surprisingly, Kyle appears at the zoo offices looking for Willa. He heads to the warehouse. It's now dark. Can't find her.
I think they got a ladder outside by the wall.
Probably. Everyone's just able to get in this place.
Yeah, they got one on both sides. It's like, don't bother using the door.
I think the question of the escaping animals is pretty moot at this point.
There's a
because
break in the wall.
Anyone can just walk in at any moment. So there's got to be a hole in the wall somewhere.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this now. The tiger's able to get out of its cell, but then is able to maul somebody to death, but then dematerialize again so it can get out of the zoo. So it's
that's a question in and of itself, because we'll get to it. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Just go with me here.
It's fucking confusing.
Don't even get me started. So Kyle finds an open cage. He turns and is surprised by something that zaps him. He's thrown back, knocking some cages, and a large crate falls and kills him. Cut back from commercial, Scully's questioning Willa. She claims it happened exactly like with the tiger. She got up to check out what was happening and found Sophie's cage open, empty, and Kyle killed. She denies absolutely anything about Kyle. She says she did not ask him to help her take Sophie.
Everybody's
Scully
a
does
liar.
not believe it, though.
They all lie.
And we know she's a fucking liar.
Yeah.
Willa continues to claim ignorance and shifts the focus at this moment onto Mulder and his weird theory in a very combative manner. The agents leave for a moment. Mulder thinks she knows where Sophie is and that she killed Kyle to keep him quiet. She would do absolutely anything to keep Sophie. He tasks Scully with examining his body while he goes to the warehouse. At the warehouse, Mulder is looking around, just looking around. He hears something, of course. He catches Meacham in the distance. He's looking a little suspicious. And then later at that night, he has the van with a gun.
Mulder's just a super good investigator, you know. You don't give him any credit.
There are some weird cuts here.
Yeah.
All throughout this episode.
Yeah.
Time of day changes with the snap of your
It's
finger.
just suddenly nighttime.
Over and over. Yeah.
It's like they got a weird shooting schedule and they just had to make the timelines work.
Well, look at it this way. The whole warehouse scene, they're loading Sophie into the cage. And then the very next shot, Kyle's arriving and it's a different time of day.
Yeah.
Same location. It's all dark now suddenly. You're not quite sure that time has elapsed in any of this stuff. But
I don't understand this whole notion of the sheriff serving them with an order to put the gorilla in protective custody. Like what, you got a U-Haul standing on by outside to, direct Malawi? I mean, it seems to me like if you've got a plan to move this animal to a new place, you're not going to be so cruel as to be like, okay, well, the flight's tomorrow morning. We're going to leave this gorilla in a box overnight.
We're going to leave it in a box. It
happens very quickly and it doesn't make
It's
sense.
all so fucking fast.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mulder observes Meacham being suspicious. Quick cut to later that night. Meacham has the van and a gun. He's parking at a building. Mulder, of course, is spying on him. Meanwhile, Scully meets with Willa, who is packing up her office. She found that Kyle was hit with a cattle prod and died unnaturally.
And that's all it takes to fold Willa into liar no more.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, you found me out.
All right, take me in.
Yeah.
We did it. I'm sorry. She has to read Willa her rights. She says Ed Meacham helped her take Sophie. Sophie's in a building on the road to Boise. Mulder confronts Meacham now. Immediately, he says he didn't kill Kyle, which is always guilt. I didn't do it. I swear to God.
I didn't do nothing.
Sophie's behind a large steel door. She's throwing herself against it. Mulder hands Meacham the trank gun and instructs him to save her. They enter with flashlights but can't seem to find her. In an instant, Mulder is rushed and knocked down. Meacham takes this opportunity to lock Mulder in because apparently he hasn't done enough evil. Now he's absolutely terrible.
Mulder is a very bad judge of character. It's like you knew the Meacham was a bad guy. And yet you're like, well, we got to solve this one.
I believe Meacham, was paid to kill what's his nuts.
No, he wasn't paid to kill him. I think he was paid.
He wasn't paid, but now he's just an all-out murderer. He's going to lock an FBI agent in with a gorilla.
No, he's not a murderer. Listen, he's just allowing nature to take its course.
You're right.
Mulder may die, but he might be fine.
Yes, you're true.
He just wants to give Sophie some company because it's a long wait until the morning flight.
Sophie attacks Mulder once and backs off, whimpering. In a thin beam of light, dazed, Mulder can see her make some hand gestures as he lies in pain. Just then, a brilliant light returns and Sophie is now gone. Scully and Willa find him. They picked up Meacham. He's been arrested. Mulder rushes off to speak to Willa. He shows her the same hand gestures from Sophie and asks Willa what it means. Man save man. Just then, over the radio, there's a report of a large animal off the interstate. They all rush to find her. A large crowd, again, has gathered, like in the opening scene.
Probably the same crowd.
Probably. We're not going to pay too many more people.
Yeah.
As the camera pans down, we see a car with a broken headlight and a smashed windshield to tell us the story before we even see it.
Yep.
Willa runs off to find Sophie. When she catches sight of her on the ground, she immediately begins crying. She falls to the ground, caressing the large beast's face as it lies lifeless. I hate this episode.
No.
Mulder and Scully are now leaving the scene. We get a Mulder monologue. Both Willa and Meacham have been charged. The motives on the silent visitors are unclear.
Oh, that's their official name now, is it?
Yes, apparently. Is it judgment on the global rate of extinction? Will humans be reliant on the conservation of an alien race? Or will man save man? The final shot of the episode lingers on a church sign. Man has no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. Ecclesiastes 3:19.
Oh,
Okay.
well, and a pretty good car shot, as we had referenced in the previous one.
Exactly.
They
That is one of those car
game.
shots. So kudos to the director for that one, I guess.
Yeah. Somebody thought car shots cool. Why not?
Oh, okay.
And thinking about it, I do want to call out the opening sequence. Like, I just, rewatching it, realizing how hard that would have been to orchestrate. And say what you want about the episode. Like, a lot of work went into that invisible elephant sequence, and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you believe it.
The practical effects are great, and the usage of the actual elephant and the semi, really cool.
Yeah.
I give it that.
Hard to take it away from them for that. The script is terrible, but the execution of it is really quite good. So let us go into completing the dissection of the script.
Yeah, please tell me your final thoughts on this episode, sir.
Well, first of all, just on the epilogue, like, this is their last kick at the can to make the episode make sense.
Yep.
I don't know if they succeed. I don't know what they're going for. I struggle with the man save man business.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and I get that they're trying to lay the magnifying glass on ourselves.
Sure.
And I'm with that. I believe that in essence, in its base meaning, I believe that we will be either the perpetuators of our existence on this planet or the destructors.
Yeah, sure.
Like that to me rings true enough. I get that.
Yeah.
But this episode just doesn't really make sense. And not to mention the source material that they're drawing the title of the episode from.
Oh, yeah.
And this whole Bible verse at the end, it's just incorrect to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't really line up with the poem.
No.
For anyone who doesn't know, William Blake wrote a poem called The Tiger. And that's what, this is where fearful symmetry comes from.
Yeah, it's beat from the poem.
Yeah. I don't really see the interpretation correctly,
Well,
I'll get into it in my final thoughts, but you go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Well, just to say, it's not the best X-Files episode for sure. And again, I think it's because they outsourced it to two folks who haven't worked on the show before or will again, based on what they produced. The viewership agrees. It wasn't widely viewed. It's been kind of panned by pretty much everyone who looks at the show. No one's got a lot of good things to say about it. It's this morality play focused on animal rights, but looking at it through the sci-fi lens of the X-Files. The alien abduction angle's interesting, but it's funny, I didn't pick up on it before you said it. Like, they have these, we got another set of aliens. Like, we're pick up your scorecard and note the different aliens that are coming to Earth for various reasons. I mean, maybe it's the same aliens, and this is just, Bob and Doug who have a thing about animal conservation, but even the characters are pretty two-dimensional, right? Like Ed Meacham's this bad guy, and the idealistic zealots of the WAO, they're these pro-animal people. And I guess the episode does a pretty good job of presenting both sides of this issue regarding animals in zoos. Like, I think they kind of wear their hearts on their sleeves a bit by saying animals in zoos are bad. But in the end, it doesn't really have much more to say about it than that. It's kind of the backdrop for an interesting story, but this always for me comes down to, what do the agents do? And in this episode, they are clearly tourists. Like, they are just watching this stuff happen, coming up with reasons. They don't stop anything from happening. Maybe they kind of explain how the guy died from the invisible elephant, but it's not satisfying.
It's not. And
the worst crime, sorry, I will finish off by saying the worst crime is man save man. And
it's fucking terrible.
I'm surprised I would say this, because I usually like stuff where it's not tied up in a bow. Like you sit there going, oh, right. Mm-hmm.
But that's assuming everything makes some bit of sense.
Absolutely. They give you enough lead, they give you enough information that you can sit there and go, okay, I think this means this. To me, this makes sense. This is why. But here we just have Sophie out of nowhere saying man save man, and this is supposed to be our emotional moment, our touchstone for the episode.
Oh my God.
And is it a directive, man must save man, or is it a question, will man save man? And that Sophie is the one to say it. Like,
I think it's a directive, unfortunately.
Well, I think what they're implying is that the aliens are saving the animals, but they're not going to save man. So man has to save man. And that's directly from the author telling the audience that. It's my guess.
Yeah. Well, this just hit me, and I can't believe I didn't pick up on it before, but I wonder if the fact that they used a gorilla to tell this tale through sign language, do you think that, I don't know if you've read it. Have you ever read Ishmael?
No, I haven't read Ishmael.
Okay. Well, it's the idea of, part of it is like this man who's encountering a talking gorilla in a cage who's helping him see the world through givers and takers, and how humans are taking away from the world without giving back. And it's trying, put, again, that magnifying glass on humanity and living better and being better tenders to the earth, essentially.
Right.
Rather than just taking and pillaging. But that's interesting that this episode uses something kind of like that to ask that question, or direct, as I just said, man save man. It's an interesting parallel. I wonder if that was a very obvious take from that book. But,
well, listeners, you heard it here first. You should go out to your local library and pick out Ishmael and give it a read.
It's an interesting read. It's on the nose for sure, but it was enjoyable for what it was. I had to read it for a class a couple of years ago. But
so if you had an evening to spend reading Ishmael or watching this episode, which would
I would read Ishmael again.
Okay.
No question.
Mike,
not even gonna let you ask the question.
Finish your final thoughts, Mike, so we can get out of
Okay, so episode god awful. Anyone who knows me, as I said at the beginning, I'm a huge animal rights person. I'm not a fan of zoos or aquariums, that kind of thing. And this episode really is the accumulation of a lot of annoying things in my life. People thinking they're better than animals, animal torture, and bad writing. And even though the WAO, who I may agree with in principle, they've got a very pro-animal stance. It is organizations like that cause a lot of issues that I find problems with. So this whole episode is just unpalatable to me on many levels.
Kyle Lang would have survived if he'd just stayed behind his typewriter and not gotten involved.
Yeah.
Willa Ambrose getting him in trouble again.
If it weren't for that Willa.
Yeah, he would have survived to break out more animals.
And one of the biggest sins, I think, is the interpretation of the source material. I was discussing the poem, The Tiger, by William Blake. I think the interpretation is suspect. I encourage everyone to read it just so they kind of understand it. I don't fully understand it, but does it kind of work? Maybe, but not really. I think there's a line, did he who made the lamb make thee? And the poem, I think, can be interpreted.
Interpreted? I love it.
The poem can be interpreted in a very Christian sense to mean, did God, who made such gentle creatures of the world, also make such a ferocious one, a la the tiger that the poem's about? But the only way it can really be applied in this episode to me is that the man is the tiger, because we're violent and uncaring or harsh, which sounds like an interesting idea, but counter to what Blake was going for. I think I could be very wrong, but overall, I never want to see this episode again. It just hurts my soul. The X-Files,
a variety of reasons.
As we touched on earlier, this show never really tackles the social issues with great success. Episodes like this come to mind: Talico, El Mundo Gira, even what we just covered in Excelsis Day.
Yeah.
While all these episodes are well-meaning, they all seem to fall at least a little bit short.
Well,
and
it's
flat.
It's straying away from its core competency, telling fun sci-fi stories that have their own agenda. They don't adopt an agenda to try and frame an issue in and make you go, yeah, I'd agree with that. And I'd be curious to see if there are any issue shows that actually work out.
Yeah.
I guess we'll keep our eyes open.
I'll keep my eyes open. Offhand, I can't think of any that really come together well. But that being said, certain episodes that deal with social stuff, hot topic issues, some of them work better than others, but it's really, I think it's just like a thing with the X-Files. They're trying to do something and make a point, but it's a little hollow. And
I think that
either they're trying to do too much or they're just not coming at it from the right direction. And it's unfortunate because, they could make some interesting episodes that deal with race relations or the treatment of animals. That's fine if they want to use this medium. And the show is generally good with its progressive angles. I feel like this is one of the more inclusive shows in the 90s. And
for sure.
Just Gillian Anderson's character in general, giving a woman in the 90s such a large and inspiring role. Let us not forget the Scully effect, which is awesome.
I think you touched on it there, and I think it's worth noting that this is the 90s, and there was an aspect of conservative pushback to media that it was sending a questionable message. So the platform responded by adopting a responsibility of its own to say, no, it won't all be sex and violence. We'll be socially responsible as well. So maybe there was an implicit message that you do got to throw in a couple of these episodes to keep the censors happy. Otherwise you would just be viewed as this mind candy that had no social responsibility.
Well, and I think they did a good job at trying to be different and be a better show, a better crew. I've talked to Larry Musser, and as we all have heard, or some of us at least, it was one of the best crews he's ever met. And that's not to say there were never issues or something,
Sure
but
there were.
it was a very welcoming environment, at least for him. And that's not the same for every set or every production. So I just, given the nature of the episodes at times and the roles that have inspired many a woman, from what I hear, the show was trying to do something different and be a better show, more bring the people together kind of thing. And I think they succeed, but it's unfortunate that on certain topics where it's like, we want to really comment on something that's happening in the world, it always seems to fall flat. So it's interesting yeah.
Well,
it's interesting.
We have one listener comment for this show.
Please read, sir.
This is from Emily Messenger, who at the 9th hour responded to my little call out saying, hey, last chance, we're doing it tonight. And she says, oh man, fearful symmetry. I am the world's biggest X-File apologist, and even I can't defend this one. Join the club, Emily. Join the club. Yeah. Man save man. The only thing we need saving from is this shitty storyline. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, thanks for hanging in for an hour to listen to us talk about this shitty storyline.
I genuinely hope this was more entertaining than the episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
We encourage all of you to never watch this episode. And we never really say that here.
It's true.
So, this is one of those episodes. Don't worry about it.
Fast forward to 22 minutes for the witty rejoinders of the lone gunman, at least 2 of them, and then just walk away.
Just walk away.
Just walk away.
Don't even bother. But yeah, that is the episode. Andrew, if you would like to say goodbye to the dear listeners.
Dear listeners, thank you for suffering through fearful symmetry with us, and hopefully the next one will be less fearful and more symmetrical. That falls in, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure. We'll just say it works so we don't have to be here anymore.
That's right. Let's go. Let's go, Mike.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.